Hello, I'm Stephen Teague from Dragon's Tail. I've been asked to comment on level stance and body position, posture, and I'm going to do that by showing you as well, describing what I do, but also going through some of the basics that I go through that I take my new students with. The majority of my students have no martial arts experience, so I kind of have to teach them from the very beginning. We spend 2 or 3 weeks focused on footwork to try and get it into being part of what we do from the get-go. And as Harley said, practice these things so that our hands and feet are covered. So it's about making sure that we can start moving their body properly, and that we can then bring the hands in, doing things so we can coordinate our strikes properly. For my particular interpretation of level, I think that we need quite a long, wide stance. We have key passages, so we're told that at one point that we need to do a quarter volley standing still, which to me suggests that we've got a depth in our stance, so that we can move backwards and forwards without actually moving our feet. We're also told other things about setting the left foot for the right to facilitate springs that take us wide out in a very circular motion. So obviously anything too narrow is also not going to facilitate that really. It's not going to make a huge amount of difference to what we're doing. Particularly as you see, it's been a deceitful movement, so that we look steadfastly in our opponent's face, is Level's term. So it's about tricking movement beneath our body, which also leads to some of the other things which I tried teaching here. So, back to footwork. Basics we start with. It's nice and hard like this where we've got squares so we can really enable people to see what we're doing. But basically, standing feet shoulder width apart, toes pointing forward. We're going to take a comfortable step forwards. Once we've done that, we allow the right foot to just turn to 90 degrees, and the left leg, the knee goes above the ankle. Can go further forwards than that if you feel comfortable with it, but for many people, particularly starting, that sort of extension can cause problems. The rear leg, the right leg in this instance, is straight. It's not locked, but it is straighter than the front leg. But we're still managing to maintain weight. Although front weighted, we've got weight distributed between both legs quite comfortably. So from here, when I'm teaching footwork, I try to focus on the fact that people invariably will not get it right. So I teach in a way that focuses them to encourage the footwork that I want to see as an end result rather than necessarily from the beginning. But it still comes in useful later on when we get into some of the more complicated footworks as well. So to start with, what they tend to encourage is that you bring the right foot up to the left, moving the weight onto the front foot first, bring the right foot up, and then pushing out with the right foot and taking the step out over. Again, the toe pointing forwards in the direction that our mass is moving in. So moving in the direction that our mass is moving in. Try and keep this motion beneath the hips so that we're not bouncing our body up and down. Again, at the same time, when it comes to the body, medieval manuscripts, well, we're talking 1540s, 1530s perhaps, so we're into the Renaissance. The concept of an upright man, one who is trustworthy and honest, is one who has an upright posture. So square forwards with the chest, held upright. Anything that's bent is corrupt. So we still use the term today, bent officers and things. And this is obviously, it's also reflected in medieval art, so we have the thieves and beggars are all bent and hunched over and corrupt. They're untrustworthy. That's the sign of somebody who's untrustworthy. And that's why we see lots of people with messes all bent and hunched over once we get into the pictorial evidence. These are poor people and they're not honest. That's why they're poor. It's obviously medieval concept of how things work. But still, we like to keep it in there. It has martial applications as well. It facilitates a lot of this as we go through. But it is something we try to do. Plus, if I turn sideways as I attack, my shoulders wide and creating a tell that I'm coming in. So if I can keep everything stuck within my body, keep my shoulders square forwards, it becomes less of a tell. Again, keeping that movement underneath the feet. So as I say, at this point, so from our stance, we lean the weight onto the front leg, bring the right leg up and push it out to the side. By bringing it in and forcing it out to the side, it helps encourage students to learn that this stance needs to be wide. So again, taking that from the side, we move the weight on our front foot, bringing the right foot up, and then pushing the front foot out. Now this gives us a very basic step. It doesn't give us any drive, it doesn't give us any real incorporation of the body. So I like to introduce my students to Blackadder and Lord Flashard, so that as we start to drive, as we come up to this point, as we start to move out with the foot, we drive with our pelvis, thrusting the pelvis forwards, so that we get into a more driven stance. Again, as you can see, it gives us a little bit more distance, and it enables us to incorporate our hips nicely into the action that we're moving through. Again, taking it from the other side, it works exactly the same with the right foot forward, moving to the left. So we move that weight up to the front foot, we bring the left foot up, and we drive through with the left. So this gives us our basic actions of moving backwards and moving forwards. Literally, if I'm doing this in a class, they will spend the next half hour marching up and down the sides of the hall, making sure that they're correcting this, looking down, correcting their feet, moving the feet. That's always made a mistake. So if I step forwards and I become narrow, it's the lead leg that I need to move out to teach my body that that's where it needs to be going. And as I said, they'll be doing this for half an hour just to make sure that they're getting that they're not turning the body, that they're starting to pull that posture upright, to feel the confidence that comes with the position. After that, I have to teach them how to void. Now for Leddle, voiding is quite important. A third of the footwork that's in Leddle is setting in, so going forwards, a third of it is stood still, and a third of it is voiding out. So I really need to be teaching my students voiding as much as I'm teaching them to go forwards. And the principle works almost in reverse. However, this time, because of the structure that I'm in, I first need to lift the heel. If I start coming back from here, I naturally push myself upwards. As I say, this is going to be a tell. I don't want to rise. I want to keep my structure equal with my movement happening beneath the hips. So again, to start with, I teach break the structure that they've got by lifting the heel up. This allows them to bring the left leg in and then drive backwards with the power coming from the right foot into position. Once you've got the position, then you can come back forwards, weighting back onto the front leg. So again, we set through, and coming back again. We've got not locked, but we've got a straight back leg, so we need to lift, break that structure, allows us to come underneath and then drive back. Again, once the students have got this, they'll practice going up and down the width of the hall. They'll then go on and they'll practice going forwards up one way, reversing and voiding, coming back the other way. But Leddle also talks about other footwork, and these are things that I tend to do in the first lessons as well, and that's about making sure there are points at which we're told to void back, for instance, the right foot, and then set in the left foot. It sounds simple, just to set forwards. It's not to gain distance necessarily, although it can be, but it's about being able to move the hips into the action. If we stood still, it's just a little wiggle. If we lift that foot and drive, we can push more power and put more of our body weight through into that attack. So the way I teach this, again, we usually start with a simple set forward, and then we'll do repeated, essentially gather steps. So we bring up, through, drive forwards. We then move the weight onto our back foot and drive forwards again. Onto the back foot and drive forwards again. So it's about this movement of taking the weight. So obviously, if I've got all the weight on my front foot, I'm just stagger. I need to make sure that I'm moving the weight onto my back foot first and then driving forwards. Back foot, drive forwards. Again, it's about using Lord Flashard's pelvic thrust, enabling us to get in a little bit more power. We're pushing through from the hips to drive it through. So then my students will literally go up the hall, learning how to do the gather, driving it off. For me, this is particularly why that back foot, I'll swap around so you can see more clearly, the back foot needs to be at 45 degrees. If I'm at 90 degrees, I get very little drive. I'm basically rolling my foot, which is not something I feel comfortable with. So by having it at 45 degrees, as I put the weight onto the back foot, it allows me to extend and increase the length of my leg, give me that extra drive forwards. So we set through, we drive, we drive. We set through, disappear off camera. But yeah, so it works the same way. Setting with the left foot, back onto the front foot. This is worth taking with students, particularly if they're not familiar with martial arts or any other sort of body action sport. And a lot of people coming into here are coming from no real sports background or martial arts background. So it's worth taking the time to allow the student to learn how their body works, to feel how that change of mass moves and how that facilitates your next actions. Invariably what I end up with is a lot of this sort of action while they first learn. So it is worth taking that action time to show them how to do. Simple step for most of us, but it's something that takes practice. So that's basically the footwork that we do. Coming through, drive. Pushing it through, drive. Except of course, we need to be able to do that going backwards as well. And it works basically the opposite way around. We know we're coming in, so we need to move the body, so we move onto the back. Where we normally move onto the back foot to do a full pass, this time we keep the weight on the front foot, we lift the back and drive